Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been 3 months since my last confession. I've had sinful relations, boys at my school, many boys, many times. Father, there is one more thing.
What is it, my poor child?
I loved every minute of it.
Hello there, rotters! Welcome back to Prom Night, the podcast that takes a deep dive into the best worst horror films of the 80s and 90s. I'm Stevie, your VHS veteran. It's been quite a week in the horror podcasting world, and I'm not going to go into it here, but I just have to acknowledge how supportive and inclusive the horror community is. It's easy to take that for granted and forget sometimes, and this week's been a very stark yet welcome reminder that we should and do all have each other's backs when our values and inclusivity is threatened. It's been heartwarming to see us all come together for what's right. Now then, I received what you could call hate mail for bringing the movie Night Train to Terror into people's lives last week, and I couldn't be happier. You are so welcome. This week, I am going a little easier on you with Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, one of the many horror sequels famous for having absolutely F all to do with its predecessor, and one of the few horror sequels to be regarded superior to its predecessor, by me. Anyway, don't at me, okay? Joining me to say hello to Mary Lou is actor and screenwriter Joshua Tonks. He's a very good buddy of mine, and he also joined me recently on Patreon to discuss 1988's Cheerleader Camp. Yikes. If you want to hear that episode and more bonus content, head to patreon.com/Stevie's Brain Rot. Right, let's get to it. Please welcome to the show, Josh Tonks.
Hello, Stevie.
Nice. Good. You took that ball that I threw.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you threw that back.
Unlike on the Patreon where I was like, hi.
Yeah, I should probably explain that. So this is technically your second time on the show, but your first time on the main feed.
Yeah.
You know, you've graduated. But we covered the wonderful 80s 1988 slasher Cheerleader Camp. And yeah, when I was introducing you, I just sang your name, and I explained that that's something I always have the urge to do with guests, but sometimes I don't know the person that well. So when it's someone I know really well, I feel comfortable enough to do it.
And what's funny, because it's me, like any other time I would have like completely sung back to you, and I don't in the episode. So it's like you sing to me and I'm like, hi Stevie, how are you? Like as if it's the weirdest thing ever, and it's not.
Well, it is kind of weird. It did take you by surprise. And if your reaction was that, and you're someone I know, imagine if it's someone I didn't know that well, I think they'd be like, I'm sorry, do you need to lie down?
I love it. I love it.
But hey, Josh.
Hey, dude.
We've got a Josh in this film, actually, haven't we?
We do. I really like him up to a point.
Yeah. Well, quite. It's a bit, we'll talk about it later, but it's a bit of a non-character. You think it's going to go somewhere when it doesn't, really. And also his demise I'm very confused about, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
We will.
So, just for those at home, we talked about it on the Patreon, but you are a massive horror fan, aren't you?
I am.
And particularly the 90s.
Yeah, I'm a child of the 90s, and so by the time I was kind of like 10, all those sort of like second wave 90s slashers, you know, Wes Craven, Kevin Williamson, the Urban Legends, the I Know What You Did Last Summers, they were kind of my thing. So I'm a massive fan of those. So actually, it's taken me a long time to go back and revisit a lot of these 80s movies that those films were very much influenced by. And even the film we're talking about today, I can see the influences even in the opening scene when we get to it, movies from the 90s that have sort of almost stolen scenes.
Yeah, totally. And I love that, though, that because obviously films like the Scream franchise, they reference so many 80s films, literally by name as well. I love that that's what sent you back to watch them, because you loved Scream so much, and you're like, well, they mentioned this film and this film and this film, I'm going to go back and check them out. I think that's a really cool way round of doing it.
Absolutely. And I think I don't know where this came from, but I was very much like, fine, I'm going to go back and revisit, but I'm only going to watch I Nightmare on Elm Street, Elm Street 3, and New Nightmare.
Loyal to Craven.
So it's taken me even longer to go back and revisit certain sequels. So Hello, Mary Lou, which is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
I didn't see until maybe like a year or two ago for the first time, because I was like, no, Randy says Prom Night. He doesn't say the second one. Like, it's that still like that real like snarky childhood brain of mine.
Yeah. That's really funny. And well, it is very available at the moment because it's streaming free on Prime. I say free, you have to pay for Prime, but it's there. Which is really handy. So if anyone hasn't watched it, you don't have to watch it before we talk about it, because it doesn't really ruin anything by talking detail by detail. You can still go back and watch it afterwards if you are that way inclined. Have you seen the first Prom Night?
I have seen the first Prom Night. It's all right.
Wow, I'm glad you said that, because I feel like they'll take my horror card away. I'm not the biggest fan. I think it's quite boring.
Boring, agreed.
Yeah.
It's got that cool chase scene with Wendy.
Yeah.
And that's sort of all I can remember. And then there's like a disco scene, but...
Oh, well, I have got a personal connection to the first Prom Night. So I did this series out in Canada when I was a kid, back in 2000, called The Magician's House. It was a BBC series, and it was a TV film in Canada, but a series here.
Right.
And it was directed by Paul Lynch, who directed Prom Night. And so I was kind of freaking out, little sort of 15-year-old me. And he was in all the horror books that I was reading and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, his name was everywhere. And so I told him that I'm a huge, massive horror fan. I don't know if I'd actually seen Prom Night at that point. But
I was going to say,
had
had you seen it?
I don't know if I had. Because of that, we had this kinship, and it was really helpful for a young actor on like this massive TV show to have this kinship. And so he would direct me sometimes using things like, now you're Sidney Prescott. Okay, so get that mentality.
Brilliant.
And that would really... And so he's
You're
very
like giving
like
it full Nev Campbell, like touching your hair all the time, never closing your mouth.
Yeah, doing this sound.
From The Craft, classic.
The Nev.
We do that all the time. Sometimes just, it'll be the still of the night. We haven't spoken for a while, and I'll just send you a voice note of me going...
The little intake.
Yeah.
Iconic. But yeah, hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, 1987. Of course, was not originally meant to be a sequel at all. It was written and filmed as a film called The Haunting of Hamilton High. Oh. And the title was changed when the Samuel Goldwyn Company purchased it and then decided to market it as a sequel. A bit like... I think it's a bit like Cloverfield films. These films are made, and then someone comes in and goes, hey, can we put Cloverfield on the end of the title and then maybe reference a little alien at the end and somehow turn this film into canon?
Like a franchise. Like, there we go, tick.
So that's what happened. And it was directed by Bruce Pittman and written by Ron Oliver, who Ron Oliver ended up directing the third Prom Night, because there's 4 of them.
Yes, there
are.
are.
And the third Prom Night also has Mary Lou, so that's a continuation of number 2. I don't think number 4 is connected. But he wrote it, but he also directed the best scenes in this when we come to them, because they were told that they need to do reshoots, and so to add more cool and freaky scenes, and the best ones. So they got Ron Oliver, the writer, to direct those scenes. So it's technically his directorial debut, but just for the reshoots.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then that set him off as a director, and he's done some actually really wonderful films. Overall thoughts. What do you think of Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2? I always have to say the full title.
Same. One, I prefer it to the original, I must say. It's way better than it has any right to be, isn't it?
Totally.
It's super fun. It's really imaginative. It does take elements from other films of the time.
Very inspired.
But it's just great. It's just really good fun. It has its issues, but, whatever.
Yeah, of course. I mean, but yeah, with a budget of this type and the year it was made, when everything, just the outpouring that was going on, they just wanted films quick and fast. But it's definitely, the thing is, there's so many moments that are so similar to films from the past, such as Carrie and Elm Street and things like that, that I was like, where is the line with ripping something off and when does it turn into homage? Because I know certainly with books, it takes such a small amount, books or songs, such a small amount, and then it's plagiarism. But with films, you can get away with sort of saying, no, it's in honor of those films,
Yeah.
I mean, but they know they're doing it in this because even the names of the characters, all the surnames are like horror people. It's Carpenter, Henenlotter, Dante, Craven, King, Romero, which is lovely. So I think by doing that, they're holding up their hands and going, we know it's very similar to a lot of other films, but we're honoring those films rather than stealing the ideas.
Absolutely. And I give all the credit to Scream, like so many people do, but actually that there were films of the 80s that were already doing the sort of self-referential thing, because slasher movies they're really simple. If you think if we're for sake of argument saying Black Christmas, Halloween sort of started it, and then you get Friday the 13th, but by the time we get to 84, or slasher movies were dead, and then it was Elm Street that kind of reinvented them again, but just gave it a supernatural twist. And that's sort of very much what's happening here. But it's got to the end of the decade, and people are very, very aware of the tropes and the sort of the characters and all of that. And so there's a lot of things that kind of pop up in Scream that were sort of done here a little bit. It's just Scream happened to do it, a lot better.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't see any church confessional get smashed through without thinking of the teaser trailer that they made for I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, 100%. And the opening scene as well, when she walks in, it's almost shot for shot.
Yeah. Let's get into it. But first, I'll read the IMDb synopsis.
Sure.
And then I'm going to ask for yours. So it's quite simple. IMDb says, 30 years after her accidental death at her 1957 senior prom, the tortured spirit of prom queen Mary Lou Maloney returns to seek revenge. Absolutely does what it says on the tin.
Lovely.
What you got for me?
So anyone that's listened to the Patreon knows that I like being slightly extra with my intros. This one isn't as extra because the film is a lot better than Cheerleader Camp. But here we go. Hello Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 bears little resemblance to the 1980 original. Instead, this triple whammy combo of The Exorcist, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and of course, the most iconic prom movie of them all, Carrie, follows high school goody two-shoes Vicky Carpenter as she searches for a prom dress in the theatre department's creepy costume basement. After stumbling upon the very same dress and tiara worn by the titular Mary Lou Maloney, who met her fiery demise some 30 years before, or in the film's opening scene, Vicky begins exhibiting characteristics of the aforementioned bad girl come prom queen. Then, the killing starts, and the nightmares, and the scene with the rocking horse.
Ooh.
But we'll get to that. Can Vicky be saved? Or will this be another prom night that goes up in flames?
Josh, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. You used 4-syllable words and stuff in there.
I know.
I had to Google.
90s kid. I grew up watching Dawson's Creek, so...
Oh, of course. That dialogue.
Right.
Jesus. Oh, right. Well, let's talk about Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
Right, so yes, we open on a rainy day in 1957, and we meet Mary Lou, who is in a confessional box? Oh, a confessional.
Yeah.
Did you just say a confessional? Sure.
Keep it simple.
So we meet Mary Lou, who's in a confessional, and she's obviously confessing her sins. Like she's saying she's dissipated parents, been with many boys.
Many boys, many times.
That's it. But she loved every minute, and that's what she says. It's so good. And she scrolls for a good time, call Mary Lou on 555 something.
Yeah, like in her lipstick. It's great.
And that was Ron Oliver, the writer's number. And he wanted to see if anyone would call, and no one did.
No one did. That's so funny.
But that was his actual phone number. But I think this is great because she's a bit of a goer, obviously, and a bit of a rebel.
Yeah.
I think it's so clever scrawling her number in the confessional because that's where sinners go. It's
Right.
literally a one-stop shop for people who like to live deliciously. So it's brilliant marketing strategy for cock.
Did you... I was going to say, did you just quote The Vitch?
I did live deliciously. Just off the top of my head there, you know?
I love this opening scene. So we said,
So
obviously, there's references. This opening scene is, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, completely stole this. But it's such a quick, easy way to get to know this character. And I don't know about you, but I love her.
Oh, she's awesome.
I love her.
And obviously they're trying to, well, actually the characters in it, because it comes up a lot about, being naughty kids and sinning and sex and not going to college and wanting to be free and all that, and that comes up a lot. But immediately you meet this rock star rebel bitch, and and she doesn't treat people well, whether when she's alive or when she's dead, to be honest, but I still think she's awesome.
Not at all, but yeah, she's just kind of, well, it's the classic gay men thing, isn't it? It's like we see a problematic woman and we're like, yeah, girl, go.
Yeah, we want to be friends with those people.
100%.
Always. She's the Kesha of the 80s.
Yeah.
So we then meet her boyfriend, Billy. But she very quickly, they're at the prom, right? And she very quickly goes off with another guy called Cooper. But not far. Like, they go just behind the curtain on the stage, in front of everyone. They're not subtle about it at all. So Billy, of course, immediately finds them.
And Billy, who looks about 47.
Yes.
Like, there's 27-year-olds playing high schoolers. Fine, we can deal. Fine. Like, we're used to that. This dude is a grown-ass man. Like, it is ridiculous. And, Mary Lou just wants him because his father's connected and has money, but she's not really into him. She's more sort of into the sexy guy, Cooper. And she's so forward with it, She doesn't care that Billy finds them and, catches them sort of like making out. She's so casual, and she's so mean as well. So Billy's like furious and sort of like storms off, and he's going to want to get his revenge.
Yeah, and he acquires a stink bomb because some kids are making one, but then they get scared off and they drop it. So he acquires it, but it's like a full-on stink bomb with a fuse that you light.
Yeah.
And so he gets above the stage, very Carrie,
very
looking
Carrie.
Down, and she's won prom queen, so she's accepting the tiara and all that. And so he lights it, throws the stink bomb. I'm sure his intentions are just to cause a fuss, such as pouring blood on someone.
Oh yes, of course, casually pouring blood.
Yeah, exactly. But the fuse catches her dress, and she goes up.
And this is a really good stunt.
It's great.
Like, it's a great fire stunt. She's like on fire for ages. No one helps. Not a single person.
That's the thing. They just cover their eyes and go, oh no. Like, no one goes up to
She's spinning around on stage, burning in front of the entire school. No one thinks to get a fire extinguisher. I mean, did they have fire extinguishers in the 50s?
Yes.
So.
Oh, wait. Well, they had water.
Water existed, okay?
The punch bowl. We've seen the punch bowl.
Yes,
Get that.
For sure. But she's spinning around on stage, ablaze. Cooper sort of runs and, like, tentatively tries to put his jacket and then goes, no, and he's, like, banging his fist on the stage. Like, if I was Mary Lou, I'm like, hello, I am still alive. Like, someone put me out.
It's not too late, Cooper. He's grieving for her, and he could put her out. Oh, well.
Whatever.
But if he did, I don't think we'd have a film. So,
and this whole thing, like, it almost feels like its own little sequence from, like, Tales of the Crypt or something, because we open with, like, shots of the high school, and, like, this trunk opens or closes or something. So we kind of get the impression that, like, this story's being told sort of like from the trunk. It's like a book opening almost.
Yeah,
and then
that's a good call.
And then when she dies, she kind of like looks up at Billy and the flies and is like, I'm gonna get you. It's that kind of vibe. And then the trunk like closes and we get the title. And so it's like this little sort of like, this is the urban legend moment. Before we get to our main story like 30 years later.
You're right. I really like that about it. It's lovely, and it does bookend it, that sort of thing, which is lovely. And I don't think, I've watched it twice recently. I don't think it then says that we're in the future. We just meant to assume.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't give you a 30 years later.
But I suppose you can, and you can see immediately that we're now in the 80s, and we meet Vicky. And we're very much in the 80s. And I love this moment when we first meet her. She's looking in the mirror, and she's wearing a lovely cross necklace that her boyfriend Craig is about to give her in 2 scenes' time.
No way. I didn't notice that. Oh, dear.
Yeah, nice continuity there. So she's wearing it in this opening shot.
She already had one exactly the same. And she's like, oh, thank you. And she's just being really polite.
And she quickly backhands the one she's already got on.
Yeah, just flips it around the back.
No, she's got it on.
Yeah, it's terrible.
The thing is, because I sort of skipped through it again today after watching it a few days ago, I only noticed it second time round because you wouldn't. When you first watched it, and I was like, hang on.
Wait,
she's already got that on, and they really set up the family life, don't they? So we meet her mum and dad, and they're at the dinner table, and it's the Carrie mum, is the mum from Carrie. It's a very religious, very conservative mum. She doesn't want her straying or becoming a naughty girl because Vicky wants to buy a new dress for the prom, and her mum says no, wear the green one. And I don't think we ever see it, but that's enough for me. The green
one.
For a prom, and I'm picturing like forest green, like a really gross, offensive
Mossy
colour. Yeah.
And the dad is a bit of a pushover as well, isn't he? Because, you know, mum's like,
well, I
you know...
have some issues with him that we'll talk about later.
Well, this is the thing. So, like, he seems like quite a nice dude in the same way that another character that we're going to meet seems like quite a nice, charming dude. And then they do things that are, like, probably some of the worst possible things you could do.
Arrestable.
100%. And
yes.
I don't know if that's deliberate or it's very much just like, nah, the 80s, you know, you can never tell.
Yeah, it was quite disturbing, a couple of moments.
Very.
That are not really that necessary, but they've definitely chosen to put them in. Then we have the moment where Craig gives her a necklace that she already had. And then we're in the school. And so we meet, is it Monica, her friend, I think?
Yeah, we meet Monica, her friend, who's actually a really lovely character.
It's a great character.
And the way we're introduced to her is like she's kind of moaning to Vicky about the fact that she like never gets
Doesn't have a date.
And she doesn't know why. And then this really like cute himbo like behind her is like, hey Monica, could I see you after class? And she's like, go away, asshole, like, and completely shuts him down. She says,
go away, asshole, and then immediately goes, so why don't guys ask me out?
It's really cute. It's so cute.
But they're very good at immediately setting up characters, I think, this whole film. Every character we've met so far, like the mum, okay, I've got her number.
Yeah.
The dad, I'm not sure, but Vicky... I do have a slight problem. I feel like when we meet her, she straight away seems slightly unhinged, and I think it's less growth when she starts to become possessed later on.
Yes.
I think immediately you're like, oh, something's off, and she seems like almost ready to blow. I think it's the whole reason Stephen King hated the film of The Shining, because Jack Nicholson plays
He's like
Jack
crazy
Torrance
beforehand.
Crazy straight away. Yeah. And it's that thing, so the growth and the progression isn't quite there. And I do feel with her, maybe it is a nice character choice, and maybe that's why she's susceptible to possession. Who knows?
I agree with you, I think. And, you know, I think we're supposed to sort of assume that she's the good girl based on everything around her. Like her room is like very pastel-y and she's got like a rocking horse. It's very sort of infantilized. And we can kind of assume, and she's blonde, you know, so blonde, innocent, whatever. But at the same time, just there's a weird edge to her, which maybe we can sort of like pass it off as like, oh, it's just a reaction to sort of her crazed home life, you know, her mum being so oppressive or whatever. But yeah, no, I agree. I know exactly what you mean. She seems a bit weird straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a massive deal because, you know, it's not such a big deal later on when she does start to be taken over by something else. But you do see great moments where she's fighting it, like when she has a Sandra Dee moment, she dolls herself up and then wipes it off, and she's battling with. But then again, that is her being pulled to and fro from, you know, her home life and you know, the exciting MTV world out there.
It's quite a nice little metaphor, really, isn't it? The sort of the Mary Lou that like she kind of maybe wants to be. So it's, you know, I'm making it sound like this is something that's like really intentional and like present within the film, but it's not at all.
No, it's not. It's only when you sit back and go, we need to talk about this film. What can we find?
Right.
So Craig, her boyfriend, is the principal's son, played by Michael Ironside.
Yes.
Scanners.
I've not seen Scanners.
He's in everything.
Okay.
You definitely seen some of his films. He's amazing. And the son, Craig, he's a classic rebellious teen, and he's saying that he doesn't want to go to college. Sure. You know, he wants a year off, and he's got the strict dad. And then while this is happening, Vicky, goes down to the prop room, right, which is in the basement,
which has like big spooky stairs and like a cage that like locks. You know, that sort of locks from the outside and all of this stuff. Like, and it looks really like grimy and like, and where would this even be? Like in the school, and
it's. You don't have to ask for access. You can just pop down there, it seems.
Because
she's going down there to maybe look for a dress because she doesn't want to wear the green one.
Yeah.
So she goes down, and also they must have quite a flourishing theatrical department if they've got a whole basement of props.
Oh, and it looks like a labyrinth down there. Like there's so much stuff.
But the trunk that we saw at the beginning is down there, and it opens, and as it cracks open, simultaneously in Ironside's office. I call him Ironside, but Principal Billy.
Yeah.
Let's say.
I've been calling him a Principal Billy in all my notes.
Principal Billy. So a photograph smashes on his wall, and of course the crack is right over Mary Lou's face, so we know something is going on.
Weird
here.
stuff is going on.
Yeah, and then does the tiara and dress, I think, come out of the
Yes, she does. She finds the tiara, she finds the dress, and in the opening scene with Mary Lou, we see that Mary Lou has like a ring as well with her initials on.
That's right.
That plays a part later. So I was kind of like, when I was writing my notes, I was like, so is it the dress? Is it the tiara? Is it the ring? Is it a combo of all three? Like, where's the possession coming from?
Can you have one without the other?
Yeah, so I don't know. But
that's weird. I don't remember the ring coming back into play, but so you have to remind me when we get to it.
Okay, hopefully it's in my notes.
Yeah, hopefully. But we meet Jess, who's a friend of Vicky's, who's the punk, sort of emo punk girl. She's rocking. I really think she's awesome.
Really cool. She's like the epitome of 80s. Her hair is so big. She looks like that she should be on like tour with Michael Jackson or something. You know, like massive like guitarist.
Electric guitar, yeah totally. Very Slash.
And we get the impression from her that she's maybe hiding something, which is quite obviously a teen pregnancy.
Yeah, that's right.
She's feeling a little off. She's got a doctor's appointment later. And Vicky's like, Vicky just is like, what are you going to the doctor's for? And it's like, excuse me. That's a little invasive.
Crying in tears in the toilet.
Yeah.
And she tells her, At this moment, you're like, oh, they're really going for it. They're putting all the teen problems in there,
Yeah.
Especially at that time. It's, it's brave of them to address it. But, I mean, quite quickly after that, Jess she's alone in the art department with the tiara and the dress. But is she altering it for Vicky? That's my assumption.
I think so, because we get this, like, are they an art school? Because there's a moment where they're all in the art room, but, like, the scene starts and it's like we're suddenly in Suspiria because we're having, like, this ballet, this, like, ballet sequence, and then the camera pans across and, like, the ballet room is, like, next door to the art studio where, like, all the main girls are meeting. And amongst them, we've got Monica there, we've got Jess there who's sort of working on the dress, and she's like really disenfranchised and upset because of obviously her pregnancy, and a guy sort of like ditched her. But we also haven't spoken about Kelly, who's like the school bitch.
The bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I've just written her down as the bitch every time she comes on.
Basically, and she's talking about like how her dress is like Elizabeth Taylor's at the Oscar, but the way she describes it is like it's
minging.
Yeah, 100%. She's like, it's kind of Spanish and it's red with polka dots and also has a big bow, and I'm like, oh, what is this dress?
Yeah, it's
horrible.
It sounds like a, dress up night at Chiquitos. It sounds awful. Or, like a Spanish themed restaurant where you have to wear like
a cultural appropriation party.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
But
good luck with that, Kelly.
So, Jess goes off and has a cry in the toilets, reveals that she's pregnant. And then where we were at was the next scene where I think she's altering the dress and the tiara.
Well, I don't know about altering the tiara, Josh. She rips the big jewel out of the front. And now if you're altering a tiara, you don't mess with the jewels in the front. It's the band, surely. But she fucking jacks that thing out with a screwdriver or something.
Is she trying to like put the beads on the dress? Who knows?
I don't know. But anyway, the trunk does not like that because we see it and it roars and grumbles in the basement. It's like, oh!
And then we get this really indecisive death scene. Like Mary Lou can't quite decide how to kill her. How to kill this pregnant teen who we've just had this real like soap opera drama moment of her like bawling her eyes out to Vicky, and literally the next scene she gets murdered in like the most hilarious way.
It's very quick succession. Yeah, because an unseen force is dragging her around the room. There's wind and leaves everywhere, of course, to make a wonderful effect.
There's like the paper guillotine.
Oh, the guillotine, and it lines her up with her neck, so she's under the guillotine, and it does a sort of close-up shot of the top of the guillotine, and you can just imagine this force is holding it, going, and then it changes its mind.
Yeah, it's like, no, maybe not. I'm going to hang her from the light. So it like lifts her up by the dress.
Yeah, and hangs her from a fluorescent strip light, which I can say from experience certainly cannot bear human weight, because I learned that the hard way in science class. I was shouting "Hi-ho, Silver!" away, and jumped off the Bunsen burner table, grabbed onto the light, and I mean, it didn't even support or hold me up there for a millisecond. It was like the bitch was straight down, smash. Then the teacher came back in.
I love you. I love you because not only are you being absolutely ridiculous in class, but you're like quoting like Bill Denborough from It. Like,
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he's quoting the Lone Ranger, but I'm quoting Bill from It.
yeah, because you wouldn't be quoting Lone Ranger at all.
No,
you're quoting Stephen King.
Of course I was. So I know for a fact, but anyway, she somehow manages to hang off one of those enough to kill her. And then does she get thrown out the window?
100% does she get thrown out the window. And the way that it's done is like she's hung and we're like, okay, cool. Wind dies down. It's all over. She's dead. Cut to outside the building. Maybe it's an establishing shot for like the next scene. And then she gets like exploded out the window. It's hilarious.
Right. Oh, goodness.
So her and her unborn child are dead.
Yeah, and they've made, obviously, the ghost of Mary Lou's made it look like suicide.
Yeah.
I don't know, but for what reason, I don't know, because it's not like they can catch her or fingerprint her. Or but she's done that. So I think, Vicky visits Mary Lou's grave when she's been to Jess's funeral.
They have the funeral, yeah. So they have the funeral. She goes and visits the grave. Not much really happened. She just sort of like looks at it and then like walks away for a long time down like a wooded place.
And you're expecting to see a creepy nun pop out from a tree because it's very Elm Street.
It's very Elm Street. The thing that makes me laugh is, so you obviously have the moment where like the body's getting taken away and Monica comes up and she's like, Jess killed herself. And she seems really upset. They have the funeral, and then what I'm assuming is maybe the next day, Vicky's like really sadly looking at like the tiara, which has now been put up in like a cabinet on display.
That's right.
Monica comes up to her and is like, hey, what's the matter? What? You just told me mere days ago, because in movie land funerals can happen in a day. But she's like, you just told me like our friend killed herself, and now you're like, what's wrong? I think, Monica, you might know what's wrong.
But this is, of course, the best line coming up right now in the entire film. So,
yes.
The bitch, what's her name? Kelly. Because they're having the prom anyway, of course, even though... but I suppose a girl's died and they had a 24-hour turnaround funeral, so that's dealt with and done. We've forgotten that.
Fine.
We can carry on with the prom. And so we have Kelly coming down the corridor, and she basically says, oh, you know what, it's easier for me to get prom queen now. You should follow Jess's lead. And Vicky says,
you shut your fucking mouth, bitch.
It's so good. And it comes out of nowhere to the point where it like shocks Kelly, like, because Kelly feels like the type of character that like she's playing up being the bitch, and like she's not really that mean, even though the things she says are really mean, but they're so silly that you don't take it seriously.
It's like she's playing her role within school. Exactly.
And Vicky is like it pops off like full on.
Yeah. She has an absolute loony moment, and her eyes are wild.
Right,
she's gonna cut the bitch up. It's fantastic. It really reminds me of that wonderful line in Popcorn that comes out of nowhere as well. Why don't you shut your little mouth, you little slut?
It's the double little that gets me.
The doubling down on it. But now this is where we get a whole other sort of movie reference section. So we've got Vicky in the cafeteria, and she's getting her lunch from the self-serve with the the awkward dinner lady who's always giving everyone funny looks, as they always do. And someone puts their hand on her shoulder, and it goes into 100% Nightmare on Elm Street dream world. So it's the same place that she's in, but it's all grimy. There are leaves blowing, but everyone's still there. That's the only difference, isn't it? So everyone's still there, but they're all covered in muck and look really, and they're carrying on with their business, and all the food's turned to worms, and it's so Elm Street, which I love. I think they do this really well. And there's something about those Elm Street dream sequences. Nothing compares to the chilling that goes through my body when that moment when you know, oh shit, we're there, that she's fallen asleep and you haven't been told. And so this is just one of those click moments, and it's never quite specified when she goes in and out of it, because during this bit there's a moment where you think it's gone back to normal, but it hasn't. I think it's great.
It's really good. I think the sets look really cool, and there's some really cool practical effects that happen later as well. There's a moment where she does she touch the chalkboard and it like turns to water? And then the way they've obviously done it is they've filmed her in a pool
with the camera on the side.
Yeah, and so it looks like she's in the chalkboard, like trying to get out of like this liquid wall. It's so clever. Really like it.
That's brilliant. That was one of the reshoots as well. That was a Ron Oliver reshoot. So that wasn't in the film. Another bit that he added that's fucking great.
Yeah.
So a lot of the really good bits. I like all the rocking horse stuff that's added afterwards as well. That was reshoot. But yeah, she's in this dream world, and a guy says, "I love you, Mary Lou," and then just assaults her.
Is that supposed to be young Cooper? I can't tell.
I don't. He's got sunglasses on. It's not really specified.
He's like a greaser, isn't he?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Then she's a little bit different now. And she tells she's now saying to her parents that she doesn't want to go to college. Yeah. And that's when she has the Sandra Dee moment where she's dolling up in the mirror. It's really cool, lipstick and stuff. And then she battles with herself and wipes it off. And I like it. But this is very quick because then they're playing netball. And I think bitch Kelly, smashes her.
Knocks her out with the basketball or the dodgeball.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she falls back, and she gets stuck in like a spider's web.
Oh yeah, it's the netball net.
There we
go.
And
it's suddenly turned into a giant spider's web. It's really great.
I love that you introed that as like, so they're playing netball, and I'm like, yeah, and then Kelly hits her with the basketball or the dodgeball. What? What the fuck am I? Sports. Like, no idea. But yeah, so she falls into the netball net and it turns into a spider's web, which is really awesome as well. Really imaginative, which I like.
Yeah, so they send her home. And so she's been sent home because she's had this concussion. And her mum says, "Oh, you just need some time with the Lord." And I'm like, really? No paracetamol, an MRI? Just a bit of praying.
That'll do the trick. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, to be fair, yeah, Jesus did rid me of a very hefty verruca once with a solid praying session. So. No, religious people don't at me. I'm not making jokes about religion, but it's just a silly
movie.
She's had a very bad fall.
So in between all of these, we've sort of had moments with other characters. So we've got we've had Josh and Monica. So Monica's they actually have a really cute scene. So Josh is kind of like the Randy character. He's sort of like quite self-aware. He's always talking about how like, I'm going to get drunk and do this because that's what teenagers do at the prom. Like, so he's aware of his sort of role as like sort of the comedy guy. He's kind of cute, kind of dorky. He's good with computers. And him and Monica have this really cute scene where they're walking home, and they're like, we probably shouldn't, but maybe we should, and we shouldn't kiss, and then they do. And so you just get these kind of nice moments with other characters throughout. So you have those guys, and then you get the stuff with Principal Bill, and he's sort of driven to the church because he senses something's going on, and we see him looking at the priest, who is Cooper from the 50s story.
We find out that it's the two of them grown up.
Yeah. And so we just get little moments between them, and like Cooper's like trying to do stuff, like he's got like the perfect headshot of Mary Lou with some candles, which like pops off the wall, and he's like, oh, something's going on. So they're sort of getting a sense that, something weird is going on. Yeah, for sure.
Something a little bit spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Vicky then goes to confession, and this bit made me laugh just because I'm a pedant. So she's like, I've had bad thoughts, I've disobeyed my mother, and then the priest Cooper goes, there's something else, like he can sense it. And I'm like, well, no, the last thing she said was "and," which in most cases determines a continuation, but okay. But he just tells her to pray.
Because,
again,
of course,
the Lord will sort it. Now then, this is when we get truly one of the best scenes, the rocking horse and the mirror.
Yes.
Yeah, and as I said, this was added in reshoots, but so the rocking horse obviously comes alive, but even before it comes alive, it's fucking petrifying.
Horrible.
It's like veiny. It's got a really angry face, and this is before
and it's really demonized. Big. Because you would think like a rocking horse is made for children, like small children, which is, why they're small. So if like a toddler or like a 5-year-old or whatever wants to get on it and ride, like it's fine. It's little. This one is like,
it's for an adult.
Adult rocking horse. Who made it? Where did they get it? What is the story behind this?
And how can I get it?
How much? How much and where from?
That in
yes. Oh my god! I wonder if that still exists somewhere as like a prop from a movie.
It's got to be. Someone will have it for sure. It's very Poltergeist, this bit as well, I think.
Yes. Because the rocking horse sort of comes to life, and you see its tongue and eyes go a bit Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, it's gross.
And then doesn't she like yell at
Go
it
away,
to stop?
You.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it does.
She's like, this is my room. Get out, you, to the whatever's possessing. But what I don't understand about that is
Yes. Is Mary Lou... So if Mary Lou is possessing Vicky, surely she's the one that's creating all the weird stuff.
So
why
my
is she
issue.
why is she creating a weird rocking horse to like... Does that mean the rocking horse was just... This is a whole nother story and the rocking horse was just possessed? That's got no relation to Mary Lou?
But it's got to be Mary Lou talking through it, because if it was just Vicky, you'd be like, what the fuck? The fucking rocking horse is alive.
Right.
But she's really casual with it. She's, oh, get out, you. This is my bloody room. And you're like, oh. She's all right. It's like she knows. But yeah, maybe it's always been alive and it's nothing to do, as you say.
And that's a whole nother... I mean, I haven't seen the sequels. Maybe it makes a return. Who knows?
Who knows? That's a good point.
And then it just cuts and she's in bed, isn't she? And we get the cool shit with the sheets, which I love.
Yeah, and then the sheets just completely sort of... It's like saran wrap, isn't it, around her, and there's hands underneath it pulling her.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
You see the hands like under the sheets, like grabbing her. I love it. It does remind me of the moment in Elm Street where Nancy's wall becomes like plasticine or rubber or whatever, and he reaches through. It's like that, but they've sort of done it in reverse, and the sheet becomes like really taut around her. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is really good. And then, I don't really know what happens at the end of that bit, but I know then we have a moment where Father Cooper is performing a ritual to banish the demon that he believes is upon us.
Oh, yeah.
And I swear, he's obviously speaking Latin, but I'm pretty sure the last thing he says in his ritual is Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh my God.
It's so funny. He goes, Omni dalive Tyrannosaurus Rex. I think it's definitely Latin, and I'm sure it's not Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it sounds very, very close to that.
Now, not naming names and not naming the show that this was in, but there is a certain someone that I worked with that opened the show with like Latin verses because the character was religious. And on one of the shows, he decided to see if he could get the word .cotton into his...
Goodness sake. Into his speech.
Into it.
Without anyone just for the cast.
Just for the cast.
Yeah. How did that go?
He did it very well, actually. It was actually pretty seamless.
Oh, I would sweat. Because whenever I've done shows and you have, they call it a mock-up for those not in the biz. Often the last matinee of a run of a show, they call it mock-up matinee, when everyone sort of pisses about. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of those annoying people that really hates it.
Guys, we can't do it, guys.
No.
Guys, we shouldn't.
No. No, I'm not that. No, sorry, that's a different guy. No, the guy I am is the one who likes to fuck other people up. But if you mess with me, I fall to pieces on stage. If someone is standing in a different place, I literally go, and I'm like, my whole brain crumbles. But I'll happily put something put a water balloon in someone's pocket.
Well, when we did Stevie and I've worked together, and when we did Panto together, like this was probably my first job where there was like a real sort of audience interaction element, and there was like actual improv happening, and it got to a point where I'd got a bit confident and whatever and blah 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 blah. And there was a moment where I came on stage and I like sang Happy Birthday like really over the top, and I like went for gold, and it was like hilarious, and then I blanked, and you just looked at me and on stage was like, you've forgotten your next line, haven't you?
Did I say that? Did I? Did I say that? And of course that then makes it worse, because then you go to full panic.
So funny. You were like, you went a bit far there, didn't you? Got a bit cocky there, didn't you? It's so good.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really proud of myself for that.
It was
I love that.
Brilliant.
That's what I love. I mean, we weren't to be talking about Mary Lou, but that's one thing I love about Panto is all the things that I want to do when someone messes up on stage.
Yeah.
Well, you're not really allowed to, but I did it anyway. I'd go, ooh, did you just fluff your line?
Yeah, but we were allowed because of the theatre we were in.
Yeah.
Like it was a different vibe, so it was really fun. Back to Mary Lou.
So he's done his Tyrannosaurus Rex thing, and then he also says the power of Christ compels you. He says it nearly as many times as they say it in The Exorcist, which is like 276 or something. But he visits Billy, Principal Billy, and now this is where we're really sure that it's the two guys from the beginning in the 1950s.
Oh wait, sorry to interrupt. The end of the scene with the like the watery mirror and the rocking horse.
The rocking horse.
Obviously, like so much noise and commotion's been happening in her bedroom, and her parents haven't come in for all this time. When they finally come in, she's like, I dropped the radio.
That's
broke.
right.
Like, that's the excuse you give for all that noise. Like, she throws the radio across the room at the mirror or something. I don't know what, but that's her excuse. Like, I dropped the radio. It broke. It's so silly.
But actually, the room's been shaking. There's been wind. There is shouting. Oh, it's
right.
But they buy it.
They do.
They buy the excuse.
They do.
But she's fully unhinged now, because this is where she's in class and she's looking at the 1957 yearbook, and Kelly says something, so she just backhands her across the face.
Brilliant.
Really hard. It's great. Then we've got the bit you mentioned where she's then got detention after that, and it's this amazing. I think it's an amazing sequence where she gets pulled into the blackboard, and it turns into liquid, but you can see all the letters that were written on the blackboard in chalk all spinning around. It's great. I kind of don't want to even talk about that one too much, because if you haven't seen it, it's just a really great 80s practical effect with a tiny little bit of camera trickery, and it's executed flawlessly. But yeah, she's totes possessed, and she goes back to confession.
Yep.
And she's confessing, and then she says to Cooper, will you fuck me? Yeah, which is she's also had time to fully crimp every hair on her head.
And she has a lot of hair.
Yes.
It's very long, so that would have taken a minute, you know?
Yeah, so she's between detention and going to confession. She's popped home,
Yeah.
got the crimpers on, and had a full session on the hair. But she stabs him with the crucifix. All this bit is surely referencing.
It must
because
be.
we've just had the power of
Yeah.
Christ compels you. We've had her say, will you fuck me?
It's
which
very-
is very Reagan.
It's very The Exorcist, yeah.
And then stabs him. Yeah. But then she's in school and she's wearing 50s clothes.
Yeah.
And obviously she's really transforming. And then her science teacher just touches her up.
Mr. Craven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't give him that name.
No, give it to somebody else.
Yes. Give it to...
I was going to say...
No,
I
I'm
don't
not
want
gonna
to
say
say.
what I was gonna
I
say.
had like a list of people. I was like, give it to... Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like,
say.
not here.
Maybe not.
And Josh even, so the character of Josh, not me, actually says, like, he references The Exorcist here as well, because she's being really weird. But yeah, Mr. Craven, the science teacher, kind of like feels her up. And so she burns his crotch with like the Bunsen burner.
Yeah.
And
the heat travels through very quickly.
Yes.
Because it like flashes a bit of flame on his crotch, and apparently he can feel it very quickly.
science.
Fantastic. Now, why are Vicky and Monica showering in the next scene? What have they done?
They got
don't know.
they got grubby in science. They got some chemicals on themselves.
But they're the only two as well. They're the
Only two in the
two
showers in the middle of the
so
day.
they finish science and go, oh, do you feel filthy? Maybe she wanted to wash off the lechy Mr.
Yeah,
Craven.
and she needed a friend to do that, to help her.
Yes. So they go to the girls' changing room showers. Don't know why they're showering. Vicky comes onto her very strongly.
She does.
Comes onto Monica. And then this bit, did it remind you of
The Faculty.
Yay!
100%, because in The Faculty you've got Mary Beth's character, who is also
Yeah.
a blonde, who is also stalking someone through a locker room, and is also
naked.
completely naked. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It fully
And
reminded me of The
and
Faculty.
also it's the shadows and the way she's just walking around,
Yeah.
popping out between lockers, trying to find Monica, who's run away because she came onto her. And
Which
then-
actually, like, when I was watching that, I was like, are they being a little bit, like, homophobic here? But actually, I think
Right.
it's less to do with that, and it's more the fact that, like, the way that Vicky comes onto her is really aggressive, and it's a
it
bit
is,
like,
completely.
oh, this is my friend out of nowhere kind of assaulting me a little bit. So I was like, okay, it's not too bad. I don't have to be angry at them for this.
Oh yeah, no, she's just trying to get away from an aggressor. And
Yeah, for
also if
sure.
your best mate suddenly changed attitude this quickly, it's
Yeah.
like, you're dangerous.
And they've already been noticing the weird things she's been doing as well, and how she's been changing how she's dressing and all of that. So it's sort of,
Yeah.
understandable.
It's warranted. I get it. But yeah, so Monica hides. This is a really cool bit.
So
hides
cool.
in one of the lockers, and she eventually just works out which one she's in and goes, "I want ba-ba-doo-ba, I want bab," and it just crushes.
It's so good. That's
I don't know how they did this. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't quite find out. I tried to work out if it was reversed, because just the middle locker with all the other lockers just implodes.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Pulls itself in. It's
So
good.
maybe they look at me like me, like maybe they.
Working it
I have
out.
no idea. They got two.
Perhaps
They got some really burly guys that stood off camera and just pushed the other lockers, so it squashed the middle one.
But you would, the distribution of weight wouldn't mean it would only do
Oh
one.
no, I don't think that would actually work.
Oh, I thought you were saying that as a serious suggestion. I was like, oh, Josh, physics.
Josh, okay,
no.
science and
But
sport,
anyway,
not that good.
But I'm one of those people, especially with these films, I'm like, I need to know how
Yeah.
you did that. So I will find out eventually.
That's my favourite bit, I think. Actually, is that
It's the
locker.
best kill, I think.
It's the best kill.
It's
And
so simple.
It's really simple, really imaginative, and really like unexpected, which I love.
Yeah. And does blood come pouring out of it? Or am I making that up? Because I don't think it's very bloody.
No, I don't think so. Or maybe it does
No.
from the bottom, perhaps, but maybe we just
I
wish
don't
it
know.
did. I don't know.
Maybe not. Principal Billy has a weird vision of his son in the back of a truck screaming.
Yeah, which happens like almost like follows on from like a scene. So you're kind of like, wait, is Vicky there? Because Vicky's in the back of the car, like grabbing.
Yeah, right. In the
Grabbing,
vision.
is it Craig?
Yeah, Craig. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a really weird cut that confused me. I was like, is she meant to be there or not? What's going on?
I don't know. I don't think it's really then explained. Well, basically, I think it's like an alert in his psyche that his son could be in trouble, and that's what gets him.
Oh, I know what it is. It's because Mary Lou in Vicky's body is in the basement, the theatre basement with the prop basement with Craig, and she's like hooking up with him, and he's like, I don't want to. She knocks him out, and when he gets knocked out, it's almost like his dad senses that something's wrong and has that like little flash.
Yeah.
So it's really weird.
But now this is trigger warning. This is the moment where Vicky is now on the evil rocking horse, her adult rocking horse, living her best life, rocking back and forth. So her dad comes in and she gets off the rocking horse and she starts snogging him. Now then, the red flag that I would like to raise very high, he doesn't stop her.
No.
And he gets into it,
Yes.
his daughter. I don't know what to say.
Out of nowhere.
We hadn't had a hint earlier on, or that he's got dark thoughts or anything like that.
He's
It's
not even a
so
character,
strange.
really. Like,
No.
So it's really bizarre that happens. And who should wander in to see? But
Mother Teresa.
Yes, Piper Laurie herself. So yeah, like her mum walks in and sees, and they have this kind of. Is this the part?
You sinners.
Yeah, full on. And is this where they have the showdown and she like blasts her out the door?
Yes.
So Vicky, Mary Lou as Vicky, like I think kills her mum here.
Yeah, because she does like a superhero push, and then when someone goes like quarter of a mile.
Yeah, and like shoves her right out the door.
Yeah, and I'm assuming she's dead. Yeah, so Billy doesn't want Craig to go and find Vicky, and he's worried about her. So he knocks his son out.
Oh yeah.
He knocks him out, but he doesn't ask him first or try locking him in the room. Like knocking him out with a blunt instrument should be like last resort. Or actually, it shouldn't be a resort. He's like, I don't want you to go after Vicky. He's like, oh no, I'm really worried about it. So he just goes bang. It's like, that'll do it.
Doesn't he knock him out with a shoe?
Yes, yes, Josh.
Craig's like,
does.
where's my shoe? And then his dad's behind him with the
Here
shoe.
it is. Here's your fucking shoe.
And the thing is, he's just been knocked out already as well.
I know.
It's like, you're just going to give the poor boy, like...
double concussion. That oxygen is not getting to the brain.
But it's because he wants him out of the way, because Bill wants to go and kill Vicky, because the prom is now underway.
Lock his door then.
I know.
Anyway, he's out again. But then we see Billy and he's burying the trunk, which he's got. But it's got Cooper's body inside, which is a nice little moment.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got Josh in the computer room and he's getting ready for the... Oh, this is something we haven't talked about. So, it's confusing. The prom queen voting system this year is via computer.
Is he using a computer? So Josh is in charge of sort of like tallying up the votes
Yes.
that everyone sort of makes and typing them into a computer.
Yes.
He couldn't just count them.
Well,
he has to type
what I
them
don't
up.
understand. They talk about it like it's this new fandangled, massively high tech thing where it's like basically all they're doing is counting.
With a really big like computer, like.
But not only that, I think they're writing down their vote and then he's counting those and
Yeah.
inputting them into a computer. So I don't get it anyway.
Is-
but I think it's just cool
yeah.
because it just shows that, the 80s were moving up.
Yeah, he's the tech savvy one. Like, he's the only one that knows how to use a computer, so he has to like put it in. And I think it's just a device for him. Well, because what Kelly wants to do is rig it so it becomes her. And this is where Josh ruins it all for me, because he's been like cutesy, dorky guy, and I'm like. When he had that scene with Monica and it was all cute with them like asking each other out and then kissing, I was like, don't, in my notes, I'm like, don't you fuck this up. Don't you fuck this up. You're a nice guy. But he fucks it up. Yeah. Because even though he's there at the prom with Monica, Kelly comes in, asks to rig the votes, and he blackmails her into performing oral sex on him.
Right. Screw you, Josh.
Yeah.
Boys. 80s boys, eh?
80s boys,
Also,
eh?
I like that he has a poster, literally just a poster of E equals MC squared on the wall, which I just think, right, I get it. He's into physics. It's like someone who's like studying medicine just having a poster of penicillin. Like,
right?
Cool.
Just the word.
Yeah, penicillin. But his computer kills him.
It does, in a very sort of Elm Street way, where like the one thing that sort of defines your character kills you. So he rigs the vote, and Mary Lou / Vicky realizes, and so she somehow electrocutes him.
Well, that's what I'm confused about. Mary Lou's fully in Vicky now, and she's not there. So is she omnipresent? Mary Lou, like God, is she she can be in several places at once because she kills him via the computer. I mean, I'm not really complaining. I'm just trying to
make
string
sense
some
of
logic through it. But it's a kill we've seen so many times actually, because the 80s loved their animated electricity kills.
They do.
With just the blue lines running around someone's body while they shake.
Yeah.
So one of them is great. Vicky / Mary Lou wins prom queen. This happens quite quickly. So it's just like, oh, and the prom queen is Vicky. Carpenter, of course. And then does she...
Bill shoots her. So it kind of like...
It's so...
The principal at the school... And they edit it in quite a tense way, because as she's going up to win and they're announcing, it's intercut with like Principal Bill like arriving at the school and running up the stairs and all of this stuff. And he gets up into the flies like he did before and shoots her dead.
On a hunch that she's possessed by Mary Lou.
Once again, no one does anything. Everyone just sort of screams and stands there like, oh no, she's dead. It's terrible. But no one's there like putting pressure on the wound, and no one's like going to call an ambulance like, hello, like, have you ever watched anything ever?
But we do get an awesome set piece now where Mary Lou punches her way out of Vicky's body. I love it so much. This is proper 80s gnarly effects.
Yeah.
It's so good. And she starts to rise out of her body, and she's all... Is she all burnt, I think, at this...
She's all burnt and like gooey and covered in like viscera, and she's still sort of in like her prom dress from before, but it's all like torn and like gross. It's really cool.
I love it so much. And then she starts Carrie Whiting the place up.
Full on. And so people are getting killed, shit's going down. Kelly gets like skewered with like, because they've lit the prom with like neon lights, which I'm like, can we normalize that in public places, please? Because give me like a pastel colored neon and I'm there. I'm yours. But she gets fully impaled with one, so like that's her death.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so we get like that full sequence.
I think Craig runs down to the heavily used prop room because everyone finds solace there.
Yes. Because he's woken up, made it to prom, and he's sort of down there like trying to save the day.
I don't know how. He runs straight there and he locks the basement. I think Vicky's after him, or Vicky, Mary Lou, who are one again together.
This is what it is. We get like a reverse on the final girl chase scene. So we get Craig being somewhat of a final boy, being chased by Mary Lou, and he gets chased down into
the prop room. That's it.
The prop room, yeah, and sort of locks himself in. And then he hears Vicky, and she's like, it's as if she's normal again, but she tricks him.
Yeah, it's like, haven't you ever seen a horror movie? This is
Right.
the moment, of course, don't fall for that. Oh, what happened? That was so strange. I'm completely fine again. Oh, here, let me hold you so that you can put your head over my shoulder where I can't see your face change to evil.
But everyone else can, because there's like an invisible audience
Yes.
downstairs in this basement. But she ends up like sucking him into the trunk. It like opens, and it's like a portal to like, I don't know, the other side or whatever. And ends up like sucking him into it.
But Billy turns up then, and he's got the tiara, and
Yes.
he's obviously had a light bulb moment, I don't know when, of, oh, I know what will save the day. So he puts the tiara back on her, and her graveyard explodes in, back, you see a shot of the graveyard exploding.
Yeah.
And we have a moment where we're back in the past, and all's been redeemed, and it turns out all she wanted was a tiara on her head and her man back, I
think it was maybe she wanted to like have her moment of being fully crowned and like achieve that.
That makes more sense.
That symbolic kind of like
Unfinished
final, because
business.
that makes sense with ghosts, right? What we know about ghosts.
Yeah, those real things.
Yeah, there's real things that ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, she needs to sort of fulfill that moment, I guess.
Of course, yeah, she needs to complete it. Oh yeah, great. So everything's fine, and then you get the cop outside getting his one line. Oh, I don't know what happened here, but it was something strange.
I love that. That's the role I'd want to play.
Yeah.
In every horror movie, if I could just get cast, just have like one line that's like iconic. We do get a moment where Craig sort of, because we're going right back to the beginning when they were having coffee. Mm-hmm. Craig puts loads of sugar in his coffee, and Vicky doesn't. She's like, that stuff will kill you. And when she's sort of possessed, they're sitting in the diner again, and we see her putting loads of sugar in, and he's like, that's weird. That's suspicious. Right. And then so at the end, for him to sort of establish that it's actually Vicky again, he asks her how much sugar she puts in her coffee, and she says, none, that stuff will kill you. So we sort of get like a nice little moment there.
I love those. I love those callback moments in horror films that you've always got to have. It's always something that's said in a fun, light moment near the beginning is then said at the very end when everyone's drenched in blood and they're walking home and they've saved the day, and you get that little callback.
It's always my favorite moments of those.
Yeah, or you'll get a, where's the car? Something.
Yeah,
it's great. But of course, Principal Billy puts them both in the back of the car, and the song "Hello Mary Lou" comes on the radio, and he says, "It's our song." And the car, Christine, locks itself up
because we have to get one last minute reference to not only Christine but also A Nightmare on Elm Street as well.
Oh yes,
where the car sort of steals them at the end.
At the very end, of course, with the Freddy top.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even the number plate as it drives off is like Mary Lou 2.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Like, as in, Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, or are you saying there's going to be a Mary Lou 2? Which there is. Because, the third one, which I don't think I have seen. I do want to seek it out, considering it is the guy who directed all the good bits in this.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. But I believe it carries on her story.
I think I'd want to watch it. I want to sort of watch, let's complete the entire series now, I think.
Well,
because this one's a good one. Yeah. There's only two
we
more.
don't have to go back, though, do we? Do Prom Night.
We don't have to watch the first one, no.
Boring.
There's a prom. But I loved it. Thank you, director that I worked with, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yes, also. Yes.
You.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Please hire me. There you go. It's a really good film. It's so enjoyable.
Yeah, it is.
I think what's very good about it is, I'm not saying in any way it's never been done before. It homages everything, but it's the supernatural slasher element, which I really like.
Yeah.
And actually, we don't have a final girl because kind of you're rooting for Mary Lou. It's the anti-hero. It's the anti-hero sort of thing because you want her to get what she deserved, as in like get crowned, even though she kills a lot of people on the way.
A lot of people. I think it's just that classic thing that we spoke about when we chatted about Cheerleader Camp and spoke about how 80s slasher movies, regardless of their plot, regardless of their budget, what they do well is, even if the characters aren't very well developed, the ones that are entertaining are the ones where the characters are sort of more joyful and more happy and bright.
Yeah.
You know, none of the characters are particularly cynical. Yes, the two guys, Josh and her father, do like really deplorable things, but they sort of stand out like from the film as like different things, really. They don't feel quite a part of the general tone. And the rest of it is like, you know, these are fun characters. Like Jess is really lovely, you know.
Yeah, the punk.
Monica is really lovely. Kelly's a bitch, but like you still really like her. Mary Lou's fierce. All the characters you're kind of on board with. And then you add to that, yes, they're all stolen from other things, but the actual execution of these sort of scare sequences are really imaginative and creative.
100%.
And I'd still love to see more things like that now, rather than, you know, let's do a CGI whatever.
Yeah, and you brought that up when we were doing Juliet Camp, that the difference between this era and the 90s sort of slashers or supernatural slashers or whatever you want to call them is the ones in the 80s. They just had a positive gloss on them, even if the most heinous things are happening on screen. It just had that neon glow or that little twinkle that just makes it so much more lighthearted and so much more enjoyable, even when they do touch on subjects that are horrific. But
for sure, and the like the sort of like millennium horror movies, they tend to, I think they think they're better because they're taking themselves a bit more seriously, and actually that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes it works, but just because something's serious or darker or grungier or grittier or meaner doesn't actually make it more entertaining or rewatchable. So
I think even down to acting, it's almost like general acting improved from between the 80s and 90s, like worldwide, and it just makes such a difference with the enjoyment, because when people are better, you know, if you have better actors in a bad film, it just kind of bogs the whole thing down. It feels a little bit too serious and a bit earnest. Whereas the acting style in especially the mid to late 80s, when it was that real sort of pop culture time, the acting it's so specific and it makes me smile so much. And also because people are given such dreadful lines that they have to try and say. So bad.
And it's, you know, it's because there were so many films like this being made that they weren't looked on very fondly by the general public. Like, they're such a niche subgenre of movies that the caliber of actors that they were getting, you know, a lot of them are unknowns, a lot of them don't really work again or do anything else. And I think that's probably why, you know, you don't get a load of TV stars like you did in the 90s, where they were kind of like big, glossy, high budget productions. These are low budget indie films with actors that, you know, they might just be like a mate of the person that just happened to get offered the directing gig.
Quite often it was that sort of thing. Lots of favours and first timers.
But
for all that reason, I love it, and I'm going to make you say on recording right now, that you'll come back to do Prom Night 3.
I will 100% come back and do Prom Night 3.
Okay,
we're all happy now, and then we'll watch it and be like, oh.
Well, quite. And then it's just ruined the entire experience of Prom Night forever.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you can think of, thank you so much. I really enjoy going through that with you, and it's such a good film.
Yeah, it is.
Thank
really
you
good.
very much. Well, I will see you
Thanks
for Prom
for
Night
having
3.
me, Stevie.
All right,
Yay!
mate. Josh Tonks. Enough! Thanks so much to Mr. Joshua Tonks. If you want to stalk him on Twitter and Insta, his handle is @JoshuaTonks. You can find us there too on Twitter and Letterboxd. It's Stevie's Brain Rot. You can join the Brain Rot community on Facebook. That's facebook.com/BrainRotPod. And if you want to support the show and access goodies and bonus content, that address is patreon.com/Stevie's Brain Rot. Also, this week the merch store is launching, and we have some friggin' awesome tees and mugs and stickers and all other kinds of neat shit. So keep an eye on our socials for that announcement. Right then, you stinky fucks. See you next week. Toodles.